Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com.
You're listening to Steven Strom on TalkNorth.com.
Yes, it is. Welcome into another edition of the Strom Sports Show. Steven Strom here, TalkNorth.com. Brandon Morton, big thanks to him. He is the producer. Jim Souhan, if you want to advertise with him, he's on our website. All right, happy Super Bowl Sunday, everybody. We've got a good matchup today. I think it has zero juice to it. I'll tell you that in just a second. But Patriots, Rams today. Two teams that don't necessarily deserve to be here today. Like I said, I'll get into that in just a bit. Big guest today, Chad Grier. He'll be coming on the show, and Chad Grier is the father of Will Grier at West Virginia, and I just saw a couple reports that the Vikings were actually interested in drafting Will. Chad is a head coach out at Oceanside Collegiate Academy in South Carolina. He won 4 state championships at Davidson Day. He's, just a tremendous guy. He'll be coming on just a bit. No Negative Dave today, so I know it's going to hurt a couple of the listeners out there. Negative Dave's taken off. He's out in Arizona living it up, as I know you guys in Minnesota. What a brutal, brutal stretch of cold. I really do feel bad. Out here, I was working yesterday, and when I got out at Penn Station, and it's about 10 degrees. I am crying. I walked outside, and I'm like, I'm getting a lift. I didn't take one, because I had to walk from 33rd to 49th. I just said, you know what, I ain't doing this. It is way, way too cold, and I know you guys are in an even deeper state. I texted my uncle a couple days ago. He's telling me it's negative 30. That is unbelievable. So props to you guys. Hang in there. Hopefully it changes in a few days here. But stick with us. We do have Chad Grier coming up in just a bit. No Negative Day today, like I said. All right, so Super Bowl. Rams, Patriots. Okay, here's a couple of reasons why I'm just not interested in it at all. Number one is the fan bases, okay? The fan bases stink. The Rams fan base, I don't even know, do they know that they're in the Super Bowl today? I watched a video on Twitter. There was a couple fans at a bar, right? And Greg Zuerlein kicks the kick to send him to the Super Bowl. You should have seen the reaction of these three laissez-faire, fans. They were just like, yeah. And then one guy goes, did they win the game? And I was like, oh my God. Can you imagine if Dan Bailey sent us to the Super Bowl? What I would be doing? If I had that reaction, people would literally think I'm on drugs. And I know all of you, if Dan Bailey hits that and puts us in the Super Bowl, we're throwing a party. It's not like, oh yeah, cool, man, rock on, bro. It's not like that in LA. That's what it's like in LA. In Minnesota, we're throwing a party. So that's number one. Number two is the other fan base, New England. I just can't stand them. How can you not get sick of them at this point? All they do, and they have the right. Let's be honest. They have the right to be as cocky as they are, but it's just annoying. It's like, oh, do you guys think you're going to win? Oh, we have Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, man. We've won the last couple of years. We're a dynasty, blah, blah, blah. It's like the most stubborn fans you can't even talk to. You can't even realistically talk to them. Oh, what are you worried about when it comes to the Rams? We don't have to worry about anything. We have Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. We're not going to lose. It's just two of the worst. You have polar opposites in franchise. The one LA, the LA franchise, it's like, their whole home games, the other team's fans totally were out proportioned by the home team. It was unbelievable. The LA Ram home games were a joke this year. And then you have this Patriot franchise, and it's just, like I said, I respect them. You can't not respect them. But the fan base, if you're not in New England, if you're not from Boston or living in Boston, and you're trying to tell me that you're a Patriots fan, that's my favorite. I'll be at school, and people will be like, who's your team? I'm a Patriot fan, man. Come on. Don't give me that crap. Please, you got to stick to your city. Don't pick up the Patriots in the mid-2000s and try to tell me you've been cheering for them your whole life. They come on now. As we progress here, the storyline, I think, is complete BS. And the whole thing is, and there's always a narrative to a Super Bowl. Last year was Nick Foles, and no one ever thought that Foles would be in that spot. He goes on, and he barely beats the Falcons and goes on and absolutely kicks the Vikings' butt. And that was the storyline. Can Nick Foles, this backup quarterback, beat Tom Brady? And that was a pretty cool story because the Eagles just lost Carson Wentz, and no one thought that they'd be in the scenario that they were in. So that was an interesting storyline. Brady going for his sixth, and it was all, it was cool. This year, Are you trying to sell me that the narrative is the Patriots feel like the underdogs? Really? I mean, I'm not buying that for a sec. Brady's like, we're still here. Everyone doubted us. Who doubted you? Who doubted you in the beginning of the year? Did anyone tell me that they'd be shocked if the Patriots would be in the Super Bowl this year? I mean, come on, don't give me that crap. Don't give me that nonsense. So that's another thing. It's like, it's a fraud storyline. The Patriots are not the underdogs in this game. They're favored by 2.5. So why are you trying to sit and tell me that the Patriots are you're supposed to feel bad for them? Like, oh man, the Patriots are warriors. They fight their... I've been doing this for 15 years. And you want me to try to buy into, oh man, this Super Bowl is different because the Patriots are underdogs. Guys, they're favored by 2.5. I mean, it's ridiculous. Don't try to sell me the storyline is the Patriots are some, sorry case that shouldn't have been here. Look, they got here. They were favored to get there, and they got there. Number 3 is they both just don't deserve to be here, okay? The Chiefs, that Chiefs game was ridiculous. They scored 31 points in the second half. If that moron D4 doesn't go off sides, and the referee could have said something, referee could say, hey, D4, it's kind of a big game. You're kind of off sides. Maybe you should put your hand behind. The ref doesn't say that, of course. He does it all regular season, but decides in the AFC Championship not to do it. And then we all know what happens from there. D Ford is offsides. Brady, I don't think Brady knew it, but Brady threw it, got intercepted, flag on the play, D Ford offsides, and we all know what happened with that game. Patriots go down, score, win in overtime. And when you look at the Rams, I mean, if the Patriots don't deserve to be there, I mean, the Rams are on another scale when it comes to not deserving to be there. That Roby Coleman call, and like I said, I have no sympathy for Sean Payton. I mean, I can't stand the guy, and he's getting karma. I mean, it's still not served 100% because the Saints won the Super Bowl in 2009, and the Vikings haven't sniffed one. I shouldn't say that. I mean, they were one game away. They were up 7. All right, we can get into that. I don't want to get into that. Okay, Sean Payton. I mean, you got to kind of feel for him in the sense that he comes out and says, what have you been doing the last couple days? In my bed watching Netflix for 3 days and eating ice cream. I mean, that is devastating. You lose on a Roby Coleman pass interference that was so blatant. One of the worst calls I've ever seen. And then the Saints, when if they should have got that call, and they should have, they would have ran the ball a couple times, at least scored a touchdown, would have it completely iced the game because the Rams only had 2 timeouts at the time. But instead... And a lot of it is on Sean Payton. I mean, he had a horrible playoff. He really didn't coach the game very well. They were lucky to beat Philly. But when they were in that scenario and they didn't get that call, first down, you don't throw the ball. You run it 3 times and you force them to use their timeout. So you take the field goal, you'll take the 3, but don't leave the Rams with any type of timeouts. And that's exactly what they did. And now we're here. So... 3 reasons why I really have zero interest in the Super Bowl. The fan bases are annoying. One of the fan bases don't really care. The other one is so stubborn and it's so sick of hearing them. The other thing is they really don't deserve to be here. I mean, they both deserve. It's supposed to be Chiefs Saints. I'm sorry. Those are the 2 best teams. So, quite frankly, whoever wins this game, it's kind of like being the shortest. It's like being the tallest midget. It's like, oh, cool. Like, you guys still don't deserve to be here. And then number 3, I think the storyline is really fraudulent. I think that they're trying to feed us a narrative, and I'm not buying it. So maybe it's just me. I mean, if you want to tell me that this game has a little more juice to it, I can't buy into that. But I was just thinking, and we always have this conversation, us Minnesotan fans. It's like, when is our time, that kind of thing. Because it's been, since 91 since we've seen even just a championship game, right? Because the Vikings haven't been one in God knows when. The Wild have never been to a Stanley Cup. The Wolves, I mean, they just sniffed the playoffs last year. And then you have the Vikings. So who is most likely to get there first? Who is most likely to win a championship first? And I think most of us would agree that the Vikings would be that closest team. The Wild are kind of on their way out. The Wolves are just a joke. That franchise is a joke. The Twins are still trying to tell me that they're going to get Bryce Harper, which is no comment. So it just kind of feels a little sad because we both, we all agreed that the Vikings are the closest to that spot. But, man, doesn't it seem like they're real far away from the Super Bowl? I mean, it just seems like they're just not really close right now after this season. It was just a disaster. And that's the only team I can really tell you that are the closest to a Super Bowl or a championship, and they're not really close. I mean, the Wild aren't going to beat Winnipeg in a best of 7. The Wild aren't going to beat a Nashville in the best of 7. They're not good enough to beat those teams. The Twins, I mean, really? There's never a small market team that wins a championship. And the last team you can say is the Royals. But a lot of these teams, it's the Bostons, it's the LAs, it's the Houstons. I mean, it's the big market teams. The Twins don't fit it. I mean, they're not going to win. It's been like that for years now. It's a big market league. And the Wolves are a joke. We're still trying to. I mean, I was watching the game a couple days ago with my dad. I hate watching the Wolves, by the way. I mean, you are tied up 98-98, or I think it was 96-96, and the ball goes to Jared Bayless? I mean, you got two superstars in Andrew Wiggins and Karl Towns that you're trying to tell us, the fans, that these guys are the guys that are going to bring a championship, and none of them want the ball. It's a tie game, and you're giving it to Jared Bayless. He's 38 years old. You got him in a trade. He's not even supposed to be playing. And he's taking the last shot? My God. Super Bowl's got zero juice. And the Vikings are the closest one to the championship. And they sure don't feel like they're the closest, though. Chad Grier, he's up next.
Well, I think I outdid myself today as we welcome head coach Chad Grier to the show now, who is currently the head coach, and bear with me here, he is the head coach and AD at Oceanside Collegiate Academy in South Carolina. And listen to this, Oceanside was 0-8 in 2016. You insert Chad Grier, they went 7-3 in 2017, 8-3 last season. He's been able to completely turn that program around. And before he was there, he was at Davidson Day High School in North Carolina, where he won 4 state championships in just 6 years there, which is just incredible. He is the father of Will Grier, who just finished up his senior year at West Virginia. He threw close to 3,900 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. And he is going to be drafted in this coming April. Will finish 8-3 as a starter this year. Didn't play in his final bowl game against Syracuse, which I actually defended him for doing that. He has no business playing in that. I think that covers everything, Coach. Welcome on to the Strom Sports Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. All right, so I wanted to go back and forth here. I want to get your side of things. I want to get your thoughts on Will. And if you haven't already, please, on Netflix, this QB1, Beyond the Lights, they follow these 3 quarterbacks. I mean, it is unbelievable. Coach Chad Grier is on film. He's unbelievable. So let's start with you, okay? You get into your first year with Oceanside. And like I said, I binge-watched QB1 Season 2. You really had to get these guys to buy in after such a tough year. Tell me your trick in terms of turning these programs around and getting these kids to buy in because, Sam Hartman said on the show, practice is Monday to Friday, 4 to 7. It's hard to get these high school kids to buy in at that.
Yeah, there's no trick. I mean, it's just believe that hard work works, and I think that with kids today, I just believe are starved for discipline and structure and to be held accountable. I think that there's a lot of assumptions about millennials that they don't want to work, that they're just looking for the next game of Fortnite, and there's some truth to that. There can be, but I think when you give them an opportunity to be heard and be accountable and to be responsible for their actions and to understand that what I tell them, life's not fair. It's what you make out of it, and the reality of it is there's nothing about what we do that's designed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. But the end result, the goal is for it to be worth it. And they look back over they play 3 years, 4 years, whatever their time with us is in the program, is that they look back and say, hey man, that was hard. It wasn't always easy. It wasn't always even fun, but it was worth it. And I think that the skill set that they develop through that is very transferable to home life, to school, to the neighborhood, to college and beyond.
You've been able to coach a lot of guys, and that you've gone on to coach to the next level. Give me some of your up-and-coming guys that we should look out for this season or next season. Tell me if you got any gems at Oceanside right now.
I think we do. We've got, it's been a process. It all starts with culture. Most successful organizations are built on a well-communicated culture that, it has to start with somebody. So it kind of starts with my coaching staff, and it's probably our culture that we've been trying to kind of grind the kids into. But when the kids take it over and they own it, that's when the magic